Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session of the Youth for Sustainability Dialogues. I'm Vrinda, welcoming you on behalf of the organizing partners Connecting Dreams Foundation, Global Network for Sustainable Development, MasterPeace Foundation, and Helping Hand International. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I would like to thank the core team of YSD, Mr. Art Boss, Dr. Amit Toteja, Dr. Sapna Nurula, Maria Sakarias, Dr. Simi Mishra, Dr. Ashima Mathur, Ketki, Vasu, and Priya. Connecting Dreams Foundation started the Youth for Sustainability Dialogues to provide a platform to young people globally to represent their thoughts, projects, and ideas on how to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals SDGs. At CDF, we believe that the youth are the torchbearers of a sustainable world. And through YSD, we are putting the youth in the driver's seat, allowing them to engage in meaningful discussions and showcase their work within local communities. We organize one live session every 2 weeks discussing a particular set of SDGs. Today's discussion is focused on SDG4, digital education, resilience in times of crisis. Due to the COVID 19 pandemic, the ensuing lockdown not only restricted our movement, but also halted education and learning for students across the world. With the schools shut down, the entire education system struggled to develop a new digitally driven learning system. The pandemic brought to light necessary changes required in the pedagogy as well as curriculum to make learning more holistic, accessible, as well as enjoyable. How can education be reinvented in a format to suit the post COVID world? How can we use digital tools to empower both the teachers and students? We have two teams today with us, one from India and one from Romania, who took this challenge head on and came up with futuristic solutions. Before I introduce our two teams today, let me first introduce you to our expert, Ishita Dutta. Ms. Datta has rich experience in personal coaching, learning, leadership training, and organization development. For almost 6 to 7 years, she has worked with Teach for India, starting out as a program manager and then as an executive coach and trainer with TFIx. And I would also like to welcome our three guests of honor from Gyandeep Growth Foundation: Sumitra Kakkar, Foundation Chairman at Gyandeep Growth Foundation, Sunila Sachdeva, Director, and Dr. Anjali Naik, Director at Gyandeep. Gyandeep is a non-for-profit organization that strives to inculcate an importance of education in the minds of economically weaker sections of society. Even during these challenging times, Gyandeep has striven to provide support to its children and their families in various ways. They have always been working with CDF. They're already working with CDF Gargi on their Kilkari Pathshala project, which I'll be talking about in a minute. Now, let me come back to our teams and introduce you to them. We have with us Sakshi Singh and Srishti Duggal talking about their project Kilkari Pathshala under the CDF Gargi College chapter. And we have Marius Dumitru talking about Schools of Peace under MasterPeace Romania. Just a couple of housekeeping things. If anyone has any questions regarding the projects that the teams are going to present, please post them in the chat and the Facebook Live. And I'd also like to remind that we'll be opening a quiz on SDG4 later in the session, which will test our knowledge on each SDG4 and the projects we'll hear about today. And the top scorers will get a certificate. Winners from the previous quiz: Tashni Kaim, Himanshi Sonkar, Himanshi Mangesh Kumar Soni, Kabi Kajol, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Sadhvi Radhika Bhandari, Siminescu Florentina. Now, I would like to request Marius to take the floor and talk about his project with us.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Marius Dumitru. I am representing my organization, MasterPeace Romania. It's a 2016 organization, which is quite a new organization. And our main focus was and is, of course, working with youth people and with young people, sorry. Most of the people that we have in our organization are teachers, such as myself. And I wanted to present to you to speak about a project that we've had. I'm going to share you the screen. It's a project which is called the Schools of Peace. It's a project that we have. It's very dear for us. It has started approximately 3 years ago, and it was initiated by a Korean NGO, which is called HWPL, which stands for Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light. And the aim of this project is to bring into the schools a curriculum which is focused on the idea of peace. So, and of course, to adapt that curriculum to all our to the different aspects of the countries in which it is implemented. Basically, Romania is let's say quite a peaceful country. We don't have any conflicts or something in which we are involved. According to the Global Peace Index, we are on the 25th place in the world amongst one of the most peaceful countries, but we still have some issues with racism and discrimination. So the curriculum that we have developed with our group of teachers, which were more than 20 teachers which were involved, revolved around this. So starting from the beginning, peace education is not a new concept. It's not something that we've invented or we've tried to put on the market, let's say. But it's something that has been done for many years. Basically, it means that we're trying to identify and cultivate talented individuals with the values of peace. And our partner organization, the Korean organization, has, let's say, created some ideas, let's say, some theories, which we have adapted to our let's say teaching system, because we think that peace education is not just a topic that can be achieved or attained by only one let's say subject, but it's a multi and transdisciplinary activity which can help the development of children's competencies toward building and living in peace, of course. Now we have some, let's say, core values that we try to guide ourselves by, and they are also the core values of HWPL, which is the sanctity of life, the loyalty and filial piety, and coexistence and sustainability, which are some things that we would like to have our children internalize, let's say, understand the importance of. For example, the idea that all life in all its aspects is important and should be, let's say, praised and valued in all aspects. Of course, the dedication towards others and helping others in all aspects. Now, our project is a grassroots project. It has involved more than 50 volunteers, which means young people, with whom we have been working with. 20 teachers and more than 500 beneficiaries across the Prahova county, which is a part of Romania. And in the beginning, we've had a lot of activities, of course, in the first three, let's say 2.5 years before the pandemic. And we've had a lot of nice and beautiful activities, and all these activities have been gathered in a book which is so far hasn't been translated actually in English. It's called An Auxiliary for Peace, and its mission is to build peaceful relationships between people of all ages and cultures, from personal to the global aspect, through education, research, and action. And this Auxiliary for Peace gathers and has inside of it all the experience of all the teachers that have participated in it. It's actually a compendium, let's say, a book which comprises a lot of lesson plans, and the lesson plans are gathered under common name, let's say, which is an hour without a catalog where we put our grades. So it's like a non-formal type of education, which is one of the most important forms of education that we use. So it uses a lot of non-formal approaches like games, debates, and it allows kids to express themselves artistically a lot. So, for example, some of the activities that we have done, there are hundreds of activities. I've just chosen 4 or 5 images, of course. Uh, Kids have expressed themselves through hand painting, like you can see in here, for example, through creating posters, by doing some group activities. So we have allowed them to use their imagination to the fullest, let's say, to the fullest extent. Now, coming to our situation, to the COVID-19 situation. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, as it happened all over the world, the educational process had some, let's say, hit some bumps in the road, if I can say it like this. It had some problems. We had to adapt ourselves, both us and the children, to the online learning. So we've used a lot of platforms, which are, I'm sure, familiar to a lot of you, like, for example, Kahoot, which was a way of interacting with children in a very fun way, because they react very well to such an activity. It has also been previously used by a lot of our teachers to evaluate the knowledge and the information gathered by students. But now we've used it to create some meaningful educational activities during the Schools of Peace project. Of course, the theoretical and some of the basic, let's say, ideas were transmitted via WhatsApp or Facebook accounts. But of course, the problem that we've had was let's say, we've had technological issues. In Romania, there are many areas in which the internet signal is not so strong, not so good. So the communication with children was a bit difficult. Although Romania is, let's say, more or less famous for one of the best internets in the world, unfortunately, there are areas in which the internet signal is not so good. So, although the children were very eager to participate, they wanted to uh, have their voices heard. Even in this time of, even in this trying time, we couldn't sometimes interact with them. We've also followed the lesson plans that we have developed, and they are also presented in the Auxiliary for Peace. We have followed them on Google Meet and Google Classroom lessons, and all the teachers have tried to at least partially keep up with the curriculum that we have created and we have tried to impose in the schools. Now, the final objective would be for as many schools as possible to adapt and to adopt, let's say, this curriculum for peace, and to have it as a part of their normal, let's say, curricula for everyday teaching. So have it as a, let's say, lesson which can be used at least once a week or at least once a month. We have tried to use it once a month, sorry, before COVID. So we've tried to have at least 1 or 2 activities per teacher per month. So we've had maybe 40 or 50 activities every month with the teachers involved in the Schools of Peace project. Now it's an ongoing project, and we hope that we will go back to school, because our situation is apparently getting better in Romania. So we will go back to school apparently after February, at the beginning of February, and we will continue this project with renewed forces, let's say. Thank you for listening to me, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Marius, so much for that lovely presentation. Uh,
Thank
we'll be
you.
taking questions at the end of the session. So
Okay.
now I would like to invite Sakshi and Srishti to share their brilliant work with us.
Thank you, Vrinda, for the platform. We'll just present the screen. Marius, could you stop sharing?
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying. Sorry. Yes, yes.
No, no, it's
Okay.
absolutely fine. Is the presentation visible, Srishti?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay. A very good evening, everyone. This is Sakshi Singh, the Outreach Head of Connecting Dreams Foundation, Gargi chapter.
Good evening, everyone. This is Srishti Duggal, the marketing head at Connecting Dreams Foundation, Gargi.
We now begin with our presentation. So I would like to give you a short brief about the SDG4 and what it is all about. The Sustainable Development Goal 4 focuses on ensuring the completion of primary and secondary education by all boys and girls and guaranteeing equal access to opportunities for access to technical and vocational education for everyone. The SDG4 goal, that is quality education, ensures inclusive and equitable quality education and promotes lifelong learning opportunities for all. We have certain percentage figures displayed on the screen. The left side of the screen shows the global figures. The global literacy rate is at 86.2%, but still 63.67 million children remain out of school. Talking about India in specific, the net enrollment ratio in case of primary education for boys and girls is at 100%, but in case of higher education, it remains at 25.4%. The global youth literacy rate is actually good in India. It is at 92% in case of females and 94% in case of males. Connecting Dreams Foundation Gargi chapter has been contributing its bit in the fulfillment of SDG4, that is quality education, through its project Kilkari.
Project Kilkari was started in the year 2018 with its aim to bridge the gap between the streets and the schools of Delhi by connecting the underprivileged children to their basic right of education. Since the start, CDF Gargi has a team of 60 plus volunteers for its project who have been working in three different locations, that is Green Park, Jorbag and Kalkaji. We have some pictures from before the pandemic period for you all to look at. After all this, the pandemic came as a hindrance to us and our offline classes. But we decided to take it as a challenge and devised a solution to ensure that our project continues to move towards its aim of educating all. This change came with a lot of challenges. The first being that we couldn't continue uh, teaching in the three different locations we were previously teaching at due to the unavailability of mobile phones and the internet. Thus, we decided to go forward with teaching at just one location, where we even collaborated with one of the organizations, that is the Gyandeep Growth Foundation, to reach out to more and more students who need us. Even after this, things weren't easy, and we faced a lot of challenges, such as unstable internet, and at times the volunteers weren't able to connect with their students they were teaching over the online medium. Now, I have a video for all of you from one of our volunteers sharing her experience in educating the students over the online medium during the lockdown. Sakshi, it is
There
not
was more to
audible.
worry about.
Yeah, it is now. Yeah.
When teaching went online, there was a lot to do, but definitely there was more to worry about. The main thing was that I never had a chance to create a personal connection with the child I was teaching. So this problem was aggravated by the fact that we don't have a good quality connection in the outskirts of the town. So interacting with someone on a video call for say 40 to 45 minutes is a big challenge. Not only this, but there is an economic divide when it comes to digitalization. The child lives in a family of 5 to 6 members and they have just one smartphone. Moreover, there is a lack of technological knowledge. Students, they do not know how to use technology for their welfare. So all these problems, they were like an interconnected web, and they created a lot of trouble while teaching. So online learning came with its own challenges, own struggles, but the best part is that we found solutions to many problems, and we are still working on it to make it more smooth, more efficient, more effective.
Even after all of these challenges, we feel successful enough in carrying out these one-to-one online teaching sessions where we not only focus on the academics of these students but also the overall development, and we are impacting over 50 plus students. Now, I have some pictures for all of you of our students participating in these activities.
A lot of creative competitions and workshops were created, like organized on various occasions like Teachers' Day and Children's Day during the entire academic year. The team at CDF Gargi also organized various learning sessions and workshops in collaborations with professionals and organizations to impart knowledge out of the books to our students. One of such sessions was on growing through adolescence, conducted by Miss Priyanka Shankar, who is a counseling psychologist and a soft skill trainer. During the session, different activities were conducted wherein students learned to accept their strengths and weaknesses and even learned to talk about the things they were struggling with. Another such session was conducted on the topic of sustainable development in collaboration with Enactus Gargi, which is a society of Gargi College, which focused on making the students aware about the environmental issues, the concepts of waste, environmental products, and the three R's, that is reduce, reuse, and recycle, were also discussed.
Thus, our team at CDF Gargi feels successful enough in carrying out these one-to-one virtual teaching sessions, which has impacted over 50 students, thereby focusing on their overall development. We all know the significance of quality education for sustainable development, and we so far have given our absolute best in building and upgrading the educational facilities even during the lockdown. Thus, we can now safely say that we have been resilient enough by making sure that the pandemic didn't become a hindrance in our projects.
I would like to now invite our collaborators from Gyandeep Growth Foundation to share their views as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sakshi and Srishti. That was a beautiful presentation. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Anjali Naik from Gyandeep Growth Foundation to share her perspectives on education
Yeah,
during COVID-19.
yeah. Hello, everyone. And congratulations, Marius, for the wonderful initiatives you are carrying out in your country. They are amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Connecting Dreams Foundation, for inviting us for this session. I am deeply touched by the way Sakshi and Srishti have projected Gyandeep in their presentation. I must say this was just a fraction of work that has been done in this pandemic. with Gyandeep. Thank you both of you. Here we are being seen as a resilient organization. But let me tell you all, had it not been for the collaboration with CDF Gargi chapter, we would not be in a position to show you this brave face today. I'm happy to represent a wonderful team led by our founder chairperson Sumitra Kakkar. We believe strongly that education can only bring the change in the world we all dream of. Keeping underprivileged children motivated and interested towards formal education is our mission. It was that dark time of the year 2020. The news of the coronavirus reaching Delhi was spreading like wildfire. Our collaboration with Kilkari was new, and the volunteers were new to teaching. We were slowly getting acquainted to the project, and suddenly this pandemic started. It was easy for us to go back to the safety of our homes and wait for the situation to improve all by itself. Nobody would have blamed us for shutting down our center, actually. But then the inner voice said otherwise. If we are not holding their hands in this difficult time, then why do we exist in the first place? That's the question we asked ourselves. We gathered all our resources. We asked Kilkari volunteers if they're ready to teach one child each. We switched off all the skeptical noise around, and together with the coordinators did what we could do, and the results are there for everyone to see. Here I want to specially mention the coordinators Nishita, Simran and Neha, who tirelessly helped us in this project. Our belief in the youth of today has grown many folds. The future is safe in their hands, we believe. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for such wonderful words. And these are some beautiful projects that are coming out of different countries around the world. Now I would like to invite our expert, Ishita Dutta, to share her thoughts about these presentations, and also if she has any questions with our teams, would love to I'd be looking forward to that interaction.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vrinda and Connecting Dream Foundation for having me. I have a small presentation, so I'll quickly, before I go there, a lot of inspiration from the work Sakshi and Srishti just presented. The Gargi chapter coming forward and one volunteer for each child, and listening to Anjali ma'am, it was very inspiring, and so much gratitude to see the work that's happening around the world. So Marius, a lot of inspiration from there, and hoping that when you do translate your School of Peace, the Auxiliary for Peace curriculum, that we will be able to access it. It sounds very interesting. So I'll quickly go through the presentation I had, and then I have two questions actually for both Marius and Srishti and Sakshi. So just a minute. So I'll move really quickly, since we all know what the Sustainable Development Goal 4 is. I represent Teach for India X. It's a project of Teach for India, part of the Teach for All connection in international connection. How TFIx works is very simple. I work as a coach to the entrepreneurs that we're working with. The blue people stick figures that you can see are the entrepreneurs we are working with across India, mostly in rural India, or working in parts of education that is not formal or not taken up in school, things like sports education or social emotional learning, and a lot more STEM and a lot more. The stick figures in green are the fellows of entrepreneurs. So each of these entrepreneurs across India have teaching fellowships. So their organizations run fellowships, and young people are fellows and they're teachers basically. But there is a short term and long term. In the short term, they're teachers to bridge the education gap for the children, but in long term, they grow to be leaders of the movement for education equity, and so that exactly what SDG4 is, to make sure that quality education is accessible to all children. And the ones in the yellow are the children. So this is how we plan to reach all children. Come the pandemic, and there was a rush, natural rush for all everyone to go online. So as some of our organizations, so when I say our organizations, I'm talking about all the entrepreneurs we've worked with across. So this is one of them, Universe Simplified. They're working in STEM education. On the right hand side are pictures from Lakshya Jeevan Jagriti, who are based out of Delhi. Universe Simplified is based out of Maharashtra. So they were able to move their programs completely online, and I'll talk about learning from there. However, as already spoken about today, India has a digital divide. And if you see, the digital divide is not only across a regional, urban, rural, but also across gender, class, ability to use technology, and so many other things. And naturally for us, most of our entrepreneurs are working in rural areas, but not only rural, some of the most economically deprived tribal areas in Manipur, in Assam, in Orissa. So it was really really difficult to completely switch the program to online. Neither did the children have access, nor were the teams of the organizations ready in that manner. And that's why we saw, so, the topic of today is resilience in in these times. So all of them came up with different ways of reaching out to the community. So on the left-hand side, these are pictures from our organization in Assam. This is the Ekikaran Fellowship, where what they did is, in each community, in each village, they selected around 10 people from the village who were going to be the mediators between the fellows and the families. So there was one person per 10 to 20 family who they were in touch with and could meet, because our fellows are residing in the communities. And these people from the community would go and make accessible hand material, handouts, and lessons to the children in Assam. On the right hand side, this is just a small part of a manual that was made in an urban setting, but where children were struggling for online access. So handouts were made, and parents were involved in how to deal with children, and also think about what does education mean in these times. So for them to access and process what is happening in the world, how do we develop ourselves to maintain our mental health, physical health in these times. So a lot of the curriculum also shifted towards that. Before our lockdown, much before this lockdown, internet services were taken away. So there's 2G there, very difficult to reach children. So there's an organization, Chinar, there. Both Chinar and Shamtalai that you can see on the left upper side. Shamtalai works out of Rajasthan. What they did is they used the local radio to be able to gather children in half an hour slots during the day to span out fun lessons. On the right hand side below, you see communities using community centers as schools, and where the fellows are actually going in person and teaching, but teaching in slots because to maintain social distancing. So in a class, if there's 70 children, you can't have 70 children together. So, 10 each for an hour. So that's how they did it. What was the biggest learning from all of this resilience is that even pre-pandemic, what is it that we were missing in quality education that could be done, that we know now can be done? So something in between classroom and online, which involves self-study time, which involves peer-to-peer study, which involves you and your family studying, which involves studying, which involves education directed by the student of what they want to study. So this was a huge learning, that exploring this question, what is blended learning and how can they be beneficial to all students. So some of the benefits we saw, that we were able to reach students where certain programs weren't reaching them previously, but because they were pushed by this situation, they were able to reach. So it seemed more equitable sometimes. Of course, for the children who were made to access technology, developing technological soft skills, building 21st century skills, because in blended learning, you're forced to talk with peers who sometimes in classroom teaching, all of this goes as a miss. So these were some of the learnings that we had that blended learning can afford us. But I'd like to leave it with the question that we are dealing with at TFIx and our entrepreneurs, is that how can we not let the already marginalized children by education be more marginalized by a complete shift to online? Who does it benefit? So right now we are still learning and we are growing and would love to share experiences later. I'm going to stop sharing. And I have two quick questions. So the first one for Marius. So Marius, I wanted to understand, like I heard you say that, waiting for schools to open up again and go back to how it was going. But if there is something that you learned new by going to the online structure that you would like to continue once you go back to school too, is there anything that you learned like that?
Well, the learning was mostly done, let's say, on a technological level, because I have never used platforms like Google Classroom or Google Meet. I have had used the Zoom platform for meetings, for online meetings, but it wasn't in a school context. It was in MasterPeace context or in a private context. So let's say the things that I have learned are on a technological level. And also, let's say, I don't know if it's learning, but it's an experience. I don't know if it's a learning experience, let's say. I've learned how to speak and how to communicate and how to motivate, let's say, children from behind the screen. How to try to engage them, how to have them speak by only seeing what I see now, like little tiny faces, 1 inch by 2 inch, and not full people, and not seeing them and feeling them and hearing them live, let's say. Okay, so yeah, that was an experience. I don't know if it's learning, because learning for me is positive, and sometimes this didn't actually work, but it's an experience, and it's something that changed me and made me grow, let's say.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Marius.
You're welcome. Most welcome.
I have a question for Sakshi and Srishti, so anyone can take it. There is a way the role of a teacher is viewed in our side and a lot of the world. And I heard your friends saying that how difficult it was to build that relationship through, video calls, which was very difficult for 40 minutes also. So just want to understand, Sakshi and Srishti, what have your volunteers learned about the role of a teacher? Because I'm sure they did build some deep connections, one teacher to one student. So anything that they've shared with you of what they've understood about the role of a teacher?
So thank you for the question, Ishita. Marius definitely mentioned the teacher side of the entire thing, and I would share the student side. Like, I'm a student myself. So the volunteers we have at Kilkari are college-going students themselves, and we have certain perceptions about teachers, like they teach a certain way, and there is a lack of connection, I feel, with the teachers simply because of the age gap. But in case of Gyandeep Foundation, or in case of our students and the volunteers we have, the considerable age gap is like it is less. So students connect well with the volunteers, but considering we are in an online or a virtual setup, so we do have restrictions as well, as mentioned in the video, like by the volunteer. There are certain financial constraints as well, like there's a digital divide. Students do not know how to actually use these devices, and at times they cannot turn on their videos, so there's a lack of connect. So this is from my side. If Srishti would like to add something.
Yeah, if Srishti does add, so the question, what I'd love to know is, was there a perspective change or some aha moments of, the role of a teacher in a student's life, or the responsibility? Was there any reflections from your volunteers on that? Would love to hear something.
Yeah, sure. When we started teaching through Gyandeep, it was during the lockdown, and during the start of the lockdown, being part of a university, we were quite free. So I think the volunteers found a purpose while teaching all these students. They found some activity and some good they were giving back to the society. The other thing is, since being a college student, we had time constraints while we were going physically to teach students. So this time constraint was removed because of the online medium. We could teach according to our convenience, and even the students could learn according to their convenience. So there's this one thing that I think is beneficial because of the online medium. Because the time constraint was a big issue while we were on a physical mode, but it's not there. So yeah.
Thank you so much, and wishing all of you a lot of luck as you continue on your projects. Vrinda, you want to take the questions?
Yeah, actually, one of the questions that comes is, so if you look at students, even the college students or the private school students, they are facing problem even in terms of concentration during the class when it comes to an online medium, to sit in one place, and there are no friends around that you can talk to. School is also about just goofing around with your friends during the class, and that's an entire experience. So from the students perspective, for both the teams, what do you think, has the concentration levels hit? How difficult are they finding coping up, especially the kind of backgrounds that they're coming from? I think Marius can go first, and then we can have Srishti and Sakshi.
I'm sorry, Vrinda. Can you repeat your question? I'm sorry, I was answering somebody. Excuse me.
Yeah, the question is
Sorry.
that what do you think about the concentration levels of the students? Have they dipped a lot? Because we have been seeing it with university students, with private school students. How has been that for students? This whole isolated way of learning when it comes to digital medium.
So you're referring to the level of engagement, how concentrated and how
Yes.
engaged they were. Well, basically, from my observation, from my standpoint, let's say, the fact that they're not in school has changed their, let's say, their level. They tend to get more distracted about what they are because they're in a familiar environment. They're at home, and this familiarity, let's say, it's not always very good, because it's, let's say, takes them away from the actual lesson. And a lot of them have their cameras turned off, so you don't actually know, you cannot have eye-to-eye contact. There's no connection, there's no magnetism, how I like to call it, between you and the students. So you don't know how engaged they are. Maybe 25-30% of them, which were the serious and usually engaged students, are always there listening to you and ready to answer your questions or solve the tasks. But the others, you have to keep in check. I mean, make sure that they're there, or ask them a question, a checkup question or something. So it's something that I didn't actually do all the time in classroom, because I could actually see them and engage them better. So this is a part of the experience, the learning experience, that I've already told Ishita about, the fact that you have to adapt a lot to teaching to little round spots on the screen, instead of teaching to actual students in the classroom. So yeah, the levels of concentrations are different in online teaching.
Thank you. and
You're
Srishti and
welcome.
Sakshi. Yeah.
Okay. So for me, online classes has been a mix of both good and bad. Considering I am a student myself, so I can answer that. So when you are attending a class in a virtual setup, so there's a thing when you log in into a class, the level of focus you have in the beginning is not the same at the end. We see that in the offline setup as well, but this is at a very great level in case of virtual classes, considering my classes begin at 8:40 and I have to attend those classes and my classes end at 5. So the level of concentration I have at 8:40 won't be the same at the end of the day. So this is one thing. In case of offline setup, you are not sitting in front of the screen and there is more engagement between the teacher and the student. Like there are interactive sessions, discussions in the classroom. So students get more involved basically. And this is exactly the same with our organization as well. Like Gyandeep and the sessions we take with Gyandeep. Um, this is the lack of connect I was talking about. Like students don't feel connected simply because they are in a virtual setup. Like our volunteers cannot conduct certain activities. Like in case of online setup, like there was instances where the students didn't want to study, like they were not interested. So on that particular day we could conduct games as such or like anything. So this is not the case in case of virtual setup. And that's it from my side.
So I very well agree with Sakshi. Like the concentration level in the online medium is less, and as talked about, as a volunteer talked about, like the family of 5 or 7 people just have one smartphone. So the students had the smartphone for their own purpose, just for a half an hour or 40 minutes or something like that. So the concentration level is low, but if we talk about the positive side of it, I think there were some positive things that came with this online medium. One being that we were able to conduct a lot of online sessions, which we were not able to conduct due to the unavailability of professionals in the physical mode. So we took this as a chance and we conducted a lot of awareness sessions and even competitions for our students. The other thing is during the online medium, uh, students were able to discover more about themselves. Like there's this one student from our organization. She started doing photography from her mother's phone. So there's this creative side which these students are exploring sitting at home. But I think someone mentioned in the comment section that there's this issue that these students are facing about their eyes burning and all of these issues, which I am personally facing too. So I think there's issues with online medium, but we can look at the positive side as well.
Thank you so much. Obviously being in a classroom is an experience in itself, but yes, with the online experience, one needs to adapt their curriculum, understand the moods of their children, the students, and yes, there's more. I would say agility and flexibility that is required in an online curriculum, as I see from what is coming. I think it has been a wonderful session with some great discussions. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And we look forward to you 2 weeks later with another amazing session with some great presentations and great projects happening around the world. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.